This is very difficult for me to admit, but it's come to a point where I have to tell you guys that I am in a reading slump. I am in a reading slump, and I feel like I have been since finishing like my reading arcs for a week video, because I just read so many so fast that I think I put myself in a little bit of a slump. And getting a new 5-star read usually will put me in a book hangover, and there's just something not right with reading at this moment, and I just really want to get over it because I have so many books that I'm excited to read, but I just don't have the energy to pick up. So I'm just gonna force myself to have that energy. Usually when I'm in a reading slump, I would pick up a light fluffy romance, something super quick, something super short, but we're gonna not do what works, and we're gonna pick up an 800-page fantasy book. Anyways, this is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This has been everywhere for so many years. It is a thick one. I'm just gonna read you the back because I don't really know what it's about. But it says, the House of Berethnet has ruled Innis for 1,000 years. Still unwed, Queen Sabran IX must conceive a daughter to protect her realm from destruction, but assassins are getting closer to her door. Iad Durian is an outsider at court. Though she has risen to a position of lady-in-waiting, she is loyal to a hidden society of mages. Iad keeps a watchful eye on Sabran, secretly protecting her with forbidden magic. Across the Dark Sea, Tane has trained to be a dragon rider since she was a child, but is forced to make a choice that could see her life unravel. Meanwhile, the divided East and West refuse to parley, and forces of chaos are rising from their sleep. Ooh, political intrigue. Ooh, dragons. Ooh, sapphic romance. Me right here, right now. I am on chapter 2. The first chapter, I was scared. I was like, this writing is really confusing me. My brain is not processing it. And then chapter 2, I was like, okay, so we're getting more from the character's point of view, and we're getting introduced to kind of the world and the politics at play. And I was like, okay, I'm starting to jam with the writing a little bit more. So I do have it on my Kindle because I am not gonna be holding this until I'm at least halfway through, because big books like this, to read it like this, sorry, no, I don't want carpal tunnel, thank you. But anyways, yeah, basically this video is just me trying to get out of reading slump. So we're just gonna be trying to get through The Priory of the Orange Tree. Hopefully I'm not reading this at the wrong time, because I do think this is a book that I could really love. It's marketed as brilliant, diverse, feminist, subversive, thought-provoking, and masterfully told in an epic fantasy. So I just feel like it sounds so up my alley, and I feel like I need something in my comfort zone to read, because I can't just reread books when I have so many books on my physical TBR. So we're gonna try it. I'm gonna take you guys along with me while I read it and update you on your thoughts. This is gonna be spoiler free. Anyways, too much talking, let's just get straight into it. Okay guys, so I did end up taking a little nap, but I'm back, and I am about 63 pages in, and I'm understanding the book a lot more than I was whenever we first started out. It is written in third point of view, but it feels a bit more disconnected from the characters than other third point of views that I've read. However, I'm really starting to understand the writing, and I feel like it's helpful within the world building to focus so heavily on the politics and on the settings and just building up the world instead of focusing on the internal thoughts of the characters. So it does make sense why it was written that way. It was just throwing me off a little bit at the beginning. Now we can get into more of the plot, because I kind of understand more about the characters and where their storylines are at the moment. So like I said, there is the East and the West in this world, and they don't really get along. They're kind of feuding, but not at the verge of war, but they don't trust each other, and it's not a great connection. And so we are following 4 different point of views, 4 narrators, but there's a lot of other characters. It's a huge cast of characters because everybody has their own dynamics and groups going on within their own storylines. Kind of in the sense that Game of Thrones is oh, you have Jon Snow, but then you also have all the people in the Night's Watch, you have etc. You understand my drift. But it's kind of like that, and it is very political so far. We're building up the politics of the world, of the queendom of Innis, which is in the West. We'll go over that. But we are following some point of views in the East and the West. So in the East, we are following Tane. She trained her entire life to be a dragon rider. We are following her on her choosing day, where officials will give her her role for the rest of her life, basically. Her roommate ended up getting sent to the scholars, and Tane gets chosen for the High Sea Guard, which is what she wanted because she's trained to be a dragon rider her entire life. And if she can get through the training and the grueling competition that they have to go through in the High Sea Guard, then she can be a dragon rider. However, we don't know too much about the competition that she has to go through. We just know that it's very difficult to become a dragon rider, and the dragons only allow humans to become a rider every 50 or so years. So essentially it's a big deal. And then we are following another character, which I don't really know where he is. He might be in the East, but he's originally from the West. His name is Loth. He is the best friend of Queen Sabran, who is the queen of the queendom of Innis in the West, which we'll get to. But he is from this queendom, but he is on a mission, and he left like in the middle of the night. No one knows where he went, and so like they're kind of dealing with that back in the West. But he was sent on this mission to basically gather intel for his queendom and spy on the other areas. And so I don't really understand too much about it. We've only gotten like one point of view of his, and like everybody back in the West doesn't really know where he is. He's doing that, but he really wants to get back to the West because that's where his family is, and none of them know where he went. So he's like trying to go through this mission of like finding intel and making sure that no one is trying to make a move against the West. And then in the West, we are following Eid. She is a lady in waiting. She is a lady in waiting, but we know that she's like involved in more of like a bigger plot. Like she is involved in like a secret kind of society thing, and she has this hidden magic that we don't know the full extent of. However, we know that she is using it to protect the queen, who is Sabran, because the queen has a lot of like assassination attempts going on towards her right now because she does not have an heir and nobody else to like claim the throne were she to pass away or something to happen to her. So the queen is like in dire need of producing an heir, but she's like denying all marriage prospects. So Eid is like basically taking it upon herself to protect the queen. I think it's like part of a bigger plot, but like we don't know it just yet. Like we haven't gotten too deep into it. We just know that Eid's protecting her, and nobody knows that Eid's doing this because Eid is using hidden magic, and she's just posing as like a lady in waiting within the household. And then we go to like a trading post in the West where we are following Nicholas Roos. He's an anatomist and alchemist, and he was banished from the queendom of Enis and sent to this western trading post because he was telling Queen Sabran like, oh, I can make you an elixir that will like basically keep you young and it will give you like eternal life. And he used all of this like money that she was giving him for his research, but it didn't end up working out, so she banished him. And he holds a huge grudge against her. He doesn't like her, and so whenever someone comes from the queendom to him and asks for help uniting the West and the East, he's like, no, I don't want to help you because I don't really care if she's in danger. Like, I don't really care about that queendom anymore. Like, all of their storylines are kind of like involving the conflict between the East and the West, and also just like their own plots and quests, but it's very political. Like there's a lot of political intrigue, which I wanted, so I am enjoying it. I feel like we haven't gotten too much into the plot yet. Like we obviously are gonna follow these characters and their storylines and where it's going. It's definitely feeling like Game of Thrones in the sense that like there's all these different groups of people and it's like all gonna converge in some point or some capacity, I'm guessing, because it's a standalone book technically. There is a prequel, but I don't know if I'm gonna read it yet. But overall, right now, I'm just really enjoying it. I feel like it's very complex, like the world building. I feel like it's not too difficult to understand though. Like I feel like once you get a grasp of like the world, then you're like kind of more in it. You can understand more about it. And also the stuff at the end of the book being like the glossary and like the encyclopedia of characters and the timeline was very helpful because if I'm like confused, I can just refer back to the back of the book. And like the writing is still like a little bit grating. Like at some points I'm like kind of confused. I have to reread a sentence, but I feel like it's a lot more manageable now than it was at the beginning. And it's making sense for like the way that the storyline's going, but we are getting more dialogue between characters and like thoughts from like the characters that are narrating the story. So I am really enjoying that, and I guess I'm just gonna continue reading because I'm talking a lot, and we're gonna talk to you guys whenever I have like more thoughts. Oh no, it is later in the day. I went to Target, did not buy anything even though there was a book sale because we are sticking to my book buying ban, but I did download some books on Kindle Unlimited to make up for it. I really want to read In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado, but I have not started it because obviously we are reading The Priory of the Orange Tree. Anyways, I'm on page 136, chapter 12, so we are more decently into the book. I am eating it up right now. There's been a lot more action, a lot more just like plot stuff going on, and I'm liking the characters. I love Eid's point of view. I love Tane's point of view. The other two don't care too much for so far. I just feel like their plot hasn't been super progressed, but there has been more action scenes, and I think I know who the sapphic romance is. Like, I've known for a while, and it's really entertaining. I feel like... But remember how I was talking about how... Actually, I don't even know if I said this, but, like, Sabran is supposed to marry because she needs to produce an heir to rule her queendom should she die. And in her family, I didn't mention this part, but, like, they always have one daughter, and they all look the exact same, which is suspicious. But she needs to have a daughter in order to keep running the queendom. And So she was like refusing all these prospects of marriage, but she just accepted one. And I'm like, Your Honor, she's a lesbian. Like, she doesn't want this. Tea. Anyways, just gonna continue it. It's like 8 p.m. I like was busy, so I didn't really read that much more. I do want to read a lot more tomorrow, like get a decent way in. Like, my goal tomorrow to reach 500 pages at least, which is just 400 from where we're at almost. So I'm probably gonna read like maybe one more chapter and then go to bed, and then I will update you guys in the morning. Sorry if this clip is going to be really shaky. I don't feel like getting my tripod out, so we're just going to hold the camera. It's time for an update because I think I'm about 215 pages into A Priory of the Orange Tree. I'm definitely getting through it like at a reasonable pace. I feel like it's like definitely more easy to pick up now than at the beginning. The writing style is more digestible and it makes more sense for the story now, because at the beginning I feel like the world building was just a little bit rough, but we definitely understand more of like the world at the point that we're at now, and we're learning more about like the religions between the East and the West. In the West, they, at least in the kingdom of Innis, because in the other kingdoms they kind of like follow different religions. Like, I know Eid, who is like the handmaiden, no, the lady in waiting for Sabran, who is a queen, is a convert to the religion of Innis, which is called the Virtudum. However, they follow the saint, but Eid doesn't follow the saint, if that makes sense. Like, she is like pretending to, because of the queendom that she lives in right now, and because she is trying to protect Sabran. Why do I keep forgetting? She's like pretending to be a convert to this religion, but she's not. But in the queendom of Innis, they do follow the Virtudum, and then in the East they have converted to following the Nameless One. And I guess the Nameless One hasn't risen. He was supposed to have been banished by Sabran's predecessors, like her ancestors, and he's been gone for like 1,006 years or something like that. However, it's speculated that he's going to rise soon, and so there was this big dragon that came to the castle and was like, Sabran, like, you need to become the draconic republic of blah blah blah, and we'll let you keep your throne. Otherwise, when the Nameless One comes, he's gonna take it from you. And she's like, no, because we follow the Virtudum, that is our religion. And so she like refuses to convert. And Sabran, who was the why do I keep saying the handmaid? The lady in waiting, who is not actually a convert to the Virtudum, she has these magic powers. So she was protecting Sabran, and they have like kind of formed like a little bit of a bond, because Sabran is kind of like lonely, but like not, because she has like all these other ladies in waiting or whatever, but she's kind of favoring Sabran a little bit, and like, because I think Sabran's just the most real. But they're having like a little bit of a dynamic right now, but it's also like she can't truly trust her because she is the queen of this like queendom, and whenever she says something, sometimes Sabran doesn't act the way that she thinks she will. She's kind of like elusive and a little bit like temperamental. But I am enjoying their dynamic. I feel like we're definitely going to get more build up towards that because they're spending more time together now. But this is definitely my favorite like storyline that we're following, like Eid's point of view, because we're getting more about like the marriage between Sabran and this prince that she has to do in order to get an heir, but like it's not having gone on yet. They're just in an engagement period. And we're also getting more background on like Eid and like her kind of like organization that she works for, which is called the Priory of the Orange Tree. And we're getting more about like her background, that basis, and then her and Sabran's dynamic, I guess. But then the other point of views are also progressing. I feel like they're progressing slower and not as action-packed as Eid's point of view. I mean, Tane's point of view is probably like my second favorite. She is the one who's like the prospective dragon rider. She has just gotten through like her trials, and I do wish we focused on the trials a little bit more. We kind of glanced over it, but like I think that's on purpose. Like, she didn't like not go into detail about them. She like talked about it, but like we didn't like see everything happening. We just kind of like talked about it afterhand. I don't know. But one thing about Tane's point of view is that she has like an academic rival who like literally hates her. Like they are like the top of the class, but they like always fight each other. And it was giving Rin and Neja from the Poppy War. And I was like, I need to read the Poppy War. It's just like everything reminds me of the Poppy War. Like, anyways, little tangent, but I like Tane's point of view. I like Eid's point of view. The other two, I don't care that much for. Like, we're definitely getting more plot development and everything connects. Like, this is like reminiscent of Game of Thrones in the sense that you have all these storylines that interconnect. And I feel like that is kind of common for like most epic high fantasies, like especially when there's more than one storyline. But I am really enjoying it in this one, and it's interesting that it's like a standalone. Like, given it's like an 800-page book, so like obviously, but I'm really enjoying that, and I really am interested to see where they go. Please, you can see the glasses mark. Anyways, why do I only be updating you guys from this area? And why do my bangs always look oily? I swear, maybe I need to clean my straightening iron. Maybe that's just... Anyways, I am about halfway in this book. I literally had to switch to Kindle. I was like, I cannot. Anyways, there's really not much I can say without spoiling it. Like, there has been so much. There are actual stakes. I was reading it last night. My eyes kept going. I was like, what is going on? It was crazy. There's stakes. So much went down. I also want to mention, like, the romance. Like, this is, like, marketed as, like, a sapphic fantasy, and it probably will be. I am liking the little inklings, but I feel like we're not getting a whole lot of build-up right now, and that's perfect because so much is happening that I don't need it to be focusing on the romance. Like, there's so much politically and fantastically happening right now that if there was a romance at this point in time, I feel like it would be taking it away. And we're getting like little snippets, and there's also like other romances kind of, but like they're like more like flashbacks. But like the romance between Eid and Sabron, not there yet, but we're like getting little inklings. We're getting little like attachments forming, but it's not like a full-blown romance yet. They haven't like done anything like that, you know? So I'm like, I'm enjoying it though, because I'm like, I don't feel like it needs to be super formed right now because it's more of a slow burn, and we're like 400 pages in and it's like still not happened. And I'm like, okay, but like I would have been mad, but like I feel like it's good for the story. And one thing about me, I love a slow burn. Like, literally don't get together till the last chapter, please, because I don't want to see you together. Like, I just want you to be yearning. I like the yearning. It's like a dark and drowning tide. I'm looking at my Goodreads right now. I don't know why I'm doing that, but I keep seeing a dark and drowning tide, and I'm just like, yeah, like the yearning in that book. Like, don't get together till like the end because I will eat it up every time. Anyways, I just like, we're getting more of like a companionship, more of like a connection and like a clinginess between them, and I'm enjoying it. And it's eating. And I fear the quality is a little bad right now, but I just really don't feel like using the back camera. So anyways, that's really all I can update you guys on. There's just a lot of action. There's a lot of high stakes. Sometimes I'm like, why are you switching point of views right now? Go back. But it makes sense. But I'm also like annoyed. But also like, it's really good. It's really long, but it's good. And I feel like everything that happens is very purposeful. We're getting more. Oh, did I mention that some of the plot lines converged? Because they did. They converged. And it was entertaining. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Hi guys. It's like 9:30 and I am about to go to bed. I need to change, but I just opened my school email and we're going to be using Cherokee scrubs for the next 2 years. Which I honestly haven't tried other. Well, I have 4 different scrubs. Cherokee and Walmart. The Walmart one is a lot more comfy. I feel like Cherokee scrubs are high quality, but they're not as comfortable, and they run hard, so you have to size down, and then that fits weird. So I'm not stoked to have Cherokee scrubs for the remainder of my school, but it'd be like that. So, anyways, that just threw me off a little bit because I was like, not the Cherokee scrubs. Like, I wanted something softer, but it is what it is. It's gonna be probably expensive. They are kind of expensive, like they are high quality, but anyways, that has nothing to do with my book. But I did read a little bit more. I think now we're on page like 400 something, but I got to the romance part, like where it started, the romance. Not completely sold, if I'm being completely honest. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's the power dynamic, maybe it's the like we didn't really realize it thing. I don't know, but like we're not going to get that much romance because of the way the plot is going right now. So I feel like that's going to be later on in the book, which we're only halfway through the book, but let's just say they're not in the same area right now. So I don't know. I hope that's not all of the romance. Like, I feel like it's not gonna be because we're halfway through the book and like they're gonna converge at some point and all of the storylines I fear are gonna come together. Not I fear, I feel they're gonna come together. So I don't know. We're gonna see. I just want to let you know we did get some romance. Don't know how to feel about it because I feel like we kind of like we built like a connection, but it wasn't like non-transactional. It was like somewhat friends, but then there's still that power dynamic of Sabran being the queen and why was I gonna say Ebron? Eid being her like lady in waiting. So I don't know if it's just the power dynamic that's throwing me off, but we'll figure it out. It'll probably be better as we go on. I don't know. We'll see. I just want to let you guys know that. Anyways, I'm gonna read a little bit in bed and then I'll update you guys tomorrow. We definitely did not get 500 pages in yesterday like I wanted to. We're not even at 500 pages yet, but hopefully I can finish it tomorrow. Like I might just binge it in the morning time because I don't have anything to do until later, so I was unexpectedly very busy today and I did not get much reading done at all. So we are literally still under 60%, but it is 6 p.m. So I don't even know if I'm going to finish this today. I really, really want to because I want to start a different book because now I feel like I'm getting out of my reading slump, but at the same time, I feel like this book is putting me in a reading slump just because it's so long and it's entertaining when I'm in it. But when I'm like not reading it, I'm like, I don't want to pick it up because it's like not even close to the end. But I am enjoying it still. Like it's going to be a high rating. It's a good book. However, I just need to get it done with. So we're going to sit here and we are going to binge this and we are going to try and finish it today. I don't think it's going to be done today unless I like stay up really late and I'm probably going to like sit down in my bed and then just feel like I want a nap. But I'm not going to let myself because I really want to finish this. Anyways, too much talking. I'm just going to start it right now. It is actually 2 days later. I ended up reading a lot more that night. I am now on page 548, chapter 53. I did not get to read anything yesterday. I was super busy. I had like a lot of plans and some assignments to get done, so I didn't end up reading anything yesterday, which is kind of insane because usually I read every day, and if not, like I read something before bed, like even a couple pages just to like let my mind calm down and just get ready for bed. But I didn't end up reading anything yesterday, so we are still reading this book. And I am really enjoying where we're at right now. It's more action-packed. More of the politics have like come out and more like reveals have happened. And some of the plot lines have converged that weren't converged previously. And it's very entertaining. I'm really liking where it's going. I can see where some plot lines are like headed, but then there's other plot lines because there's so many in this book that I'm kind of confused. Like, where this is going. Nevertheless, I'm very excited to get through this and just like see where it goes and where the storylines go and how like everybody has their like happy ending. If there is a happy ending, like I really don't know at this point. I'm liking the point of views we're following. Eid's point of view is still my favorite. Like I feel like hers is just like the most built up, and I feel like that's kind of like the point. Like she is like one of the main characters, but I'm just really enjoying her plot line. And so we're just gonna get straight into it, jump right into it. I'm gonna try and binge this like for the rest of the day. It is like 3:50 right now, and I feel like we could get through it by maybe like 7 or 8. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but I mean, we really only have this much left, which given is like almost a whole book in itself. But anyways, we're just gonna get straight into it, and then I will bring you guys along with me while I finish this book. So I did finish The Priory of the Orange Tree last night, and I think I'm gonna go with a 4-star rating for this. I did really enjoy this book. It felt very long, and I think that is partly just because the world building was very heavy in this. There is like a lot of kind of like, I wouldn't say filler, but I feel like it is pretty slow at some points. Like some parts would hit, but others wouldn't. I feel like maybe the 600 to 700 page kind of like lost me a little bit. I wasn't super like into the story. Like I wasn't like, oh, I need to keep reading. but after that then it got more action packed again, more like what we were leading up to, and it was really entertaining. I feel like the first 200 pages were maybe a bit slow as well, so like there were some slower parts, which I feel like in a high fantasy is a given, and also in like a book that's this thick. But I feel like the slower pacing was like worth it because you got this huge like immense world. It's so intricate and so well thought out. Like there's literally 3 pages of maps. Like this is literally the map for the book, and then there's like a character guide, there's a glossary, there's also a timeline. Like it is such an intricate world, and while I feel like the writing was a bit difficult to get into at the beginning, after like the 100-200 pages that you like read at the beginning, you kind of understand the writing a lot more. I feel like the banter and like the dialogue was like very witty and very funny at times. Like I feel like it was just very entertaining dialogue. There was a lot of dialogue at some points. And why I feel like it's like a little overly descriptive in some parts, I feel like that kind of just helps to build up the world, build up like the magic system and like the setting that you're in, and it was very entertaining and very beautiful. Once you get used to the writing style and once you get further into the book, you understand this world so much better, and it feels like you're like kind of living in it because it's so intricate. There's so much like going on. Like this book was marketed wrong. In my opinion, it's marketed more as like a sapphic fantasy, and it's like it is, but at the same time, I feel like people need to talk more about like what this book is about whenever they're kind of like sharing it online. Because to me, I literally just thought this was going to be like a sapphic royal dragon book, and it was, but at the same time, I feel like this book covers more along the lines of like religion and culture, and the way that stories can be told and perceived differently and told differently depending on who is telling it, and how that can influence like culture and religion and like everything in the future. It's definitely commentary on like things that have happened in the real world. Like I'm not going to name anywhere specific because she does mention in the book how it's inspired by events and legends from the various parts of the world and not like any one culture or religion. However, I feel like it is very reflective of like some of the things that happen in real life and just like events and things that have happened, because it is so heavily like influenced by religion and culture and just like bigotry also, because I feel like someone told me that this book was like kind of like in a world where it wasn't like heteronormative, it wasn't biased or racist, and I don't think that was true at all. Hi guys, editing Julie here. I don't feel like I explained it well in that clip, so I'm just gonna like talk about it very briefly here. What I meant by like I feel like this world isn't like without prejudice is that I feel like it's kind of seeped in prejudice. Like I feel like that is like a driving force of like the interactions between the different areas in this world, like the East and the West and the South, and they all have like different kind of like religions, different cultures that they follow, and some of them are enforced, like in the Queendom of Innis by Sabron's family. Like for 1,000 years they've been following the Virtudom, they've been following the saint, and basically anyone who comes to this queendom, like for example Eid has to convert to the Virtudom in order to like I guess not be like considered an outsider, or like but they still are considered an outsider. And we know like in the book that Eid is like part of a secret society called the Priory of the Orange Tree, and that she does not follow the Virtudom religion, and she follows her own. She has her own culture and where she comes from, and that is an integral part of her like as a person. So it is like a lot of commentary on like kind of just the way that people perceive other people's religions and cultures, and like how some people are not very respectful of other people's views and beliefs, and how everybody is different. And so I feel like that is a very prevalent theme within the Pride of the Orange Tree, and I feel like it also like builds up into like the politics and how it's something that definitely affects and adds conflict between the like nations, I guess, if that makes sense. I don't know. Basically, I just wanted you guys to know that I feel like, yeah, definitely was marketed a little wrong in my opinion, but I do think that this was a really good high fantasy. Like it is very intricate. The world is like literally insane. Like you saw how many maps, how many summaries, how many like thought went into this book and this world. It's so intricate, it's so entertaining. There's so many storylines you're following. Whenever they all converge, it's kind of like Avengers Endgame. Like it's really fun, really entertaining, and it wrapped up pretty nicely. Like I really enjoyed the end. I feel like the main like climax to resolution was very short compared to like the entire world building, but I also feel like as like a standalone novel, like that's kind of important. You need that world building to understand the world. Otherwise it's like this resolution is not gonna matter to me. But overall I really did enjoy this. I wanted like a little bit more out of the romance just from what I've heard. However, there is this quote that describes like the main relationship in this novel, and it says, Her feelings had come like a flower on a tree, a bud gently forming, and just like that, an undying blossom. And I feel like that really is like reflective of like the romance in this book, but there wasn't only just one romance, there was like multiple queer relationships as well. And I feel like how that was tackled from different point of views and in reflection was very entertaining, and I really enjoyed it, and I feel like it was really well written. So yeah, I definitely do think that this helped me get out of reading slump because it was so thick that now I'm just wanting to read a lot of shorter books. And so I am rereading the Cruel Prince trilogy because I want to go as Jude for Halloween. There will be a reading vlog for that coming up probably after Halloween sometime. But just like coming back into like shorter books now, I feel like I'm getting out of my reading slump because I'm like, hey, like I really want to read these books. Like I know I can get through this quicker, and just like I'm more motivated to read now because I feel like I got like something that was very daunting and very long out of the way. And like I hate saying out of the way because it's like I'm reading for fun. Like this is like I'm reading because I want to read, and I don't like saying out of the way because it makes it sound like it's a job, but it's not. Like it's not a chore to read. Like I do it for fun. But what I mean that is like I got like a book off my physical TBR that was like super highly anticipated and something I had been wanting to read for forever, and it was also very long, and so it feels like an accomplishment to have finished it and gotten like it all read. So I am very grateful to the Priory of the Orange Tree, to Samantha Shannon for helping me get out of this reading slump, because I do feel like I'm more motivated to read now. Anyways, I do feel like I'm coming out of my reading slump, so this video was a success. I am glad we did it. I'm glad we read it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you read this, please let me know your thoughts because I want to like see what other people are feeling about this book. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!